All right, I gotta be honest with everybody here. I am a massive virgin to the Warhammer 40k series. The most that I've ever understood of the lore or anything about this series or the tabletop game at all has only been with Space Marine 1 and 2, which I absolutely loved those games. But the thing is, I've always felt like there was this really intense underlying lore under everything, and I never really got to really just dig my teeth into what this series of just tabletop games themselves, or even books have with so many people that it resonates so well. So I decided to go to a pretty good source. I went to Bricky because he made a video talking about the lore of Warhammer 40k. So what we're going to do is today we're going to react to it and see if this guy's going to get into Warhammer. And I got a feeling it might even happen. So take it away, Bricky.
In the grim darkness of the 41st millennium exists the Empire of Man, a backwards carcass of an empire comprised of many devoted forces, gigantic robot knights, religious machine.
This, I gotta stop right here. This artwork and the way they just set everything up and the ideas and style of these characters have always been amazing to me. Like, it always feels like this really insane, almost like, I don't know if you're old enough like me, where you've read comics like called Heavy Metal, where it has this like gritty style to it. Everything is like dirty almost, but yet also technologically advanced at the same time. Very cool stuff. I like the way it's looking at it right now, especially the way this guy looks with everything right here. Super cool.
Cultists and incredibly heavily armored women.
Yes, give me the space dummy mommies with the six-pack abs. Yes.
Most likely with sweltering abs.
Yes.
And one must know
That's what I'm talking
those
about, baby.
Taste like.
I want to taste those abs. All right. Okay, listen. Look, that's this. You want to talk about not skipping an ad on YouTube? This is how you don't skip an ad on YouTube. First of all, I got to get that flavor because I know it probably tastes delicious. Secondly, the neuron activation is out of control. And if you don't know anything about me, I'm a huge Metal Gear fan, so Bricking using this song is literally perfect. Holy Jesus. It can't be any better. It can't. All right, I got to stop myself because if I keep going, I'm not going to finish the video, if you know what I mean. I will say, though, Bricky, that was a hell of an ad to put in for your video and honestly fantastic. But let's get into the real content before I take a break in a couple of minutes and head to the bathroom. Here we go. That is so cool.
The age of knowledge and enlightenment has ended.
Okay.
The age of darkness has begun.
Okay.
Roughly 60 million years ago, there existed aliens.
Nice.
And these aliens lived short, painful lives. They belonged to radiation-stricken worlds and often died of various cancers before the age of 30. These aliens, the Necron tier, looked up to the stars and found extreme beings of real power, beings with the ability to create life, the old ones of the galaxy.
What I love already about having like old ones of galaxies is it has this like very H.P. Lovecraft Halo the Flood kind of vibe to it. If you saw a couple of them already, it just the way they looked and just like that just screams like Flood, ancient H.P. Lovecraft tentacle, like old god kind of a deal. And I think like that kind of stuff always has a deep connection with people simply because of things like just the ocean is like that, right? Or anything like that in space, like deep, dark things that people don't understand, and having this like unfathomable power in a being, I think is incredibly cool and almost like intriguing to a lot of people as well. But that is definitely something I think like everybody connects with on some kind of level. And I think that's always a good way of like bringing in a person into what's going on and like having stakes being raised before you even understand the actual ramifications of what those stakes are. I think that's very cool already.
Ones for help, please cure us of our ailments. To which the old ones said, piss off. So the Necrons here gathered together and did the sensible thing. They declared war upon these old beings and were promptly beaten into the dirt back to their short, painful lives. In the world of Warhammer, there is a hell. This hell is not like you and I know it. It's more of an afterlife, a place where dead souls end up. This place has many names: the Empyrean, the Sea of Souls, the Immaterium, and the Ether. But mostly, we just call it the Warp. While you and I...
So from my limited understanding, the Warp is like where chaos comes from, right? Like all the people that are infected by chaos and they come out and they go after like the Space Marines and stuff like that. And to have an entire space of just like that kind of thing is crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And I think this could really be something very cool that I might start getting into. This is probably going to be a problem for me. This is not going to be good. Nope. I can already tell it's going to get its hooks into me. This is not a good sign.
I know of hell as a place of horrors and punishment. The Warp isn't really that, not in the beginning. It's energy, but the kind of energy formed from thought and soul, psychic energy, where the dead souls of people end up in a place that is impossible to understand. No laws of reality exist. Like, time is merely a suggestion, and it is not something that can be braved easily. The Warp would be like sailing the ocean.
Could the Warp actually be something to where people are dealing with like all this psychic energy being contained, and then there's going to be somebody who has to break free through it, of course having a MacGuffin kind of a thing. But I think that's also, again, like a really cool way of showcasing stakes and understanding of like how deadly things actually are in this universe. And I think that's already super cool.
In a pirate movie. To jump from your ship would be certain death. To stay in the sea for too long on your boat could drive a man mad. And there are many dangerous things lurking in those depths. Yet, the sea is not evil. It simply is. Mostly. There are more malevolent beings in those waters, areas that you do not sail towards. This would be known as the realm of chaos. The realm of chaos exists in the Warp as a special area led by 3 chaos gods. Khorne, the god of combat, murder, and slaughter, with a pile of skulls taken in his name. Tzeentch, god of change, mystery, and deceit, a confusing paradox of lies, schemes, and sorceries. And Nurgle, god of rot, pestilence, and Genshin impact. All things rot in the end. And
that artwork is so good. I gotta tell you, like, the artwork in Warhammer 40k has to be some of the absolute best. This reminds me of like Warcraft 2 artwork. Not World of Warcraft, Warcraft 2 and like Diablo artwork, like back in the 90s that we had from Blizzard. And also the 3 Chaos Gods really remind me of like Diablo, Mephisto, and Baal from Diablo. Like they fit that same kind of like tri-god criteria of ruling over hell. And I think that's also really interesting, because I'm wondering like where the ideas came from of having like those 3 specific gods. Like Mephisto is a liar, and you have that here with Tzeentch, and then you have like Nurgle. Like it's just it's very cool, and it's hitting a lot of the notes that I really enjoy about with lore in a lot of games as well. And like this kind of stuff is just so, and the artwork is so good. I really can't stop gushing about this thing. Am I going to get into Warhammer 40k? Probably.
Grandfather Nurgle is waiting for you with open arms. These gods ruled their respective realm in the Warp, sending their many followers against each other in the great game to be the most powerful of all the gods. Wow. So the Warp exists. Hell is real, parallel to our galaxy, with the realm of chaos and its gods fighting for control. But there are also gods of real space, gods of the normal world too. They're called Catan, and they eat stars. Okay, so now we've got Galactus in here too. All right, so we have the Warp, which is parallel to our time, to like our space, and then they're all infighting as well. And of course, like in the games, they cross over into our space too to like find relics of power, I guess, to use in their own battle or to fight us.
And then in our space as well, we have the Catan, who literally are just Galactus eating stars as well. Okay, cool. So nobody's a good friend here at all. Nice.
God stays in heaven because he too lives in fear of what he's created.
These star gods saw the plight of our poor Necron tier and how the old ones cast them aside and said, you know what? You guys want immortality?
Yeah.
We will make it happen. We are the gods of the tangible, of real space. We can give you a cure.
Oh no.
So then they ate all their souls.
All right. Yeah, that'll do it. Yeah.
And turned them into robotic automaton, feasting on their souls and leaving a hollow shell of an intelligence left that is technically immortal with the power.
So what they basically did was like, oh, you want to be immortal? Here's the monkey's paw. Get your wish. Huh. It curled, didn't it? I think that's exactly what we're seeing here a lot too, is that everything in Warhammer always has like this like ultimate price that you have to pay for the wish that you're wanting to be granted. It's never like this simple thing. There's always like this weird catch with everything. And I think that's like, it's almost like deceitful, but in like a malicious way. And it's very interesting to see this too.
Of an entire species' souls, they turned their new robotic slaves on the old ones and hunted them to extinction.
Wow.
The Necron tier, now the soulless, undying Necrons, got their wish at the price of their souls. But we can count the number of kind gods on an amputated hand. With time, the selfish star gods turned on each other, fighting one another for more chances at glory and power. With this, the leader of the Necrons, Zarek, the Silent King, the man who doomed his species when he accepted this deal, waited, planned, bide his time until he seized the perfect moment and turned his legions of undead citizens against the star gods. Gods cannot be killed, but they can be broken. So Zarek broke the star gods into thousands of pieces and locked them away in vaults, taking their free will away as they did to them, and sealed them away as basically Pokemon to be used as weapons in the future.
So, okay, all right, there was a lot there. All right, so basically, all right, that's cool. All right, that's really, really cool. Okay, this is basically like every major JRPG from the 90s on your PlayStation 1 and PS2 that you've ever played. That is like, hey, you want to do something cool? Check this out. Let's go kill God. Like, that's literally what this turns out to be. And that I'm down for. There's so many notes being hit of like every kind of storytelling and beat that fits so well together in this universe and what they're doing that it almost feels like they just take like all these little bits from other places and they're like, well, in these games you do this, and here's you do this, in this comic you do that, or in this story you do this, and they're kind of like melding it all together, and it just has this sense of like dread over it, and it's so good already.
Who's that Pokemon?
It's Pikachu!
It's the Void Dragon!
Zarek then, with his perfect memory, exiled himself for his sins, flying out to the darkness between galaxies to atone for what he had done. This entire situation, the genocide of the Old Ones and the rebellion of Zarek, will go down in history as the War in Heaven. It is the most brutal war the galaxy has ever seen and ever will see. This was a conflict that took an entire galaxy-spanning species and pitted them against gods that ate stars. The Necrons, rather crippled from, you know, the War in Heaven, decided to go to sleep in gigantic tomb worlds on various planets until the upstart species of the galaxy died out. And
isn't that one of the tombs that you go to in Space Marine War in Warhammer Space Marine 2? And they go in there and they're like, there's like an old god here, and they like freak the fuck out because of it. Like, isn't that what happens in part of the game, or am I mistaken? Let me know in the comments if I'm mistaken, but I feel like that happens. And like you go into one of those tombs and like shit gets fucked up.
so turns out when you have a war that lasts tens, hundreds of thousands of years and involves the genociding of multiple species,
I love
the
the
old
music
ones
in
of the
this.
galaxy, and the consumption of souls from an entire race, the warp gets a little wacky. You know, if you had a kiddie pool and it was nice and calm, Korn is over there splashing about, so you don't really go in that direction. Nurgle has explosive diarrhea, so you don't really go in that direction either. But you can still kind of get in the pool. The pool's still fine. Turns out when you add a couple trillion souls to that kiddie pool, it'll make the waves a little more turbulent. And turns out a lot of them like to pick a side, Nurgle, Tzeentch, or Korn. So the once calmer warp, the once relaxing kiddie pool has now been bloated. A million years of war will certainly make Korn, god of murder and slaughter, more powerful. A million years of war will probably make Tzeentch, god of deception and change, a little more powerful. And good God, a million years of war will make Nurgle, god of decay, oh, just the tiniest bit more powerful.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Now, entering that kiddie pool is no longer fun, it's dangerous. The warp is now a problem. Hell is resembling hell a lot closer to what we imagined it originally. The Sea of Souls and the Realm of Chaos are now in.
I'm sorry, that is cool as shit, dude. This artwork, I gush about it because I'm going to keep gushing. It is so good. Like these ideas and the way that they're putting it, this is so cool.
Intertwined. So who else to brave the galaxy than a species that won't need to deal with that?
The Eldar.
The Eldar are space elves. They have a lot of the traits that you probably think of when you think of elves. Tall, slender, pointy ears, bit more androgynous looking, no matter what DeviantArt will tell you, and a bit stronger on the emotional side. The old ones, as I mentioned, could create life. And when they were getting, you know, absolutely bodied by the Catan and the Necrons, they made some new races to try to help them. One of them was the Eldar. It didn't save them, but they're here now anyway. Oh, and also the orcs, but they're busy right now.
Yeah, that's about right.
The Eldar.
I've always liked the orcs, especially in the Warhammer games for 40K and Space Marine, because I love the fact that orcs are British, and that like blew my mind when they were like, go after them through the tea and crumpets, and I'm like, all right, listen, I did not expect that, but let's heckin' go with this, I guess. All right. Proper UK English-speaking orcs can't get any better.
Are a particularly psychically powerful race. So they were really adept at being able to handle the new turbulent warp of chaos and good at killing Necrons, hence why they went to sleep. Being psychically gifted is basically like being a wizard, but you get your wizard powers from hell. This is called being a psyker. And basically, if you want to do cool wizard shit like lightning from your hands or reading someone's mind, you can do that, but you siphon the energy to do that from the warp. Luckily, the Eldar are very good at handling this without too many negative effects because, you know, summoning power from the Sea of Souls with the new Chaos friends can be a bit of an issue. But Eldar are pretty good.
Like I said, apparently there's always a price for every piece of power in Warhammer. I guess the best way I can sort of like relate it to what I've watched before is how in the anime of Full Metal Alchemist, there's always a price to pay for what you want to do. And I feel like people are more than willing to pay those prices for that kind of power. And they don't realize that the price is a lot heftier than they expect in the first place. And I think that's going to backfire on the Eldar too. I haven't pre-watched this. This is just kind of like what I'm guessing.
Good at it. And you see what's really cool and also awful about Warhammer is that most developed species travel long, faster than light distances by going through that warp. They create a tear in reality to unreality and move through it. Faster than light travel? Cringe. We go through hell itself to deliver your packages. For those of you who play Minecraft, you know how the Nether is like a pocket dimension? So moving 10 spaces in the Nether is actually moving something like 1,000 in the real world. That's basically what warp travel is. Just much like in the Nether, there are a lot of things that want to kill you. The Eldar found a way to do so in between realities. Not regular reality, not the warp, something else. A purgatory of sorts, a fabricated psychic realm that allowed them to travel without fearing the negative effects of the warp. The Eldar were the perfect fit for the new galaxy, and they took it with open arms and pointy ears. The empire of the Eldar spread everywhere, and it spread all the way until now, the 21st century. That's right, while you were watching NPC streams on TikTok, the space elves were ruling the galaxy, and they did so for quite a long period.
So because that the Eldar had the ability to travel across every webway and just basically spread themselves across everything, they're literally just controlling everything. Because if you can't catch them and they just get to wherever you are at the faster than light speed, and they're fucking psychic powerly fucking added, hello, that's going to be a problem for people to handle. Getting your power from the warp and pure chaos to then being able to handle that power and then use that to basically be a wizard and then travel across the entire universe and galaxy through a webway while avoiding all the issues with the chaos itself and the warp, that is an incredibly powerful species.
Period of time.
Humanity.
The 21st century came and went. Humanity grew and grew, all under the nose of their elf overlords. At this time, humans advanced, your classic sci-fi style way. We began to expand, colonize our solar system, terraformed our planets, created new and more powerful machines and starships. The age of Terra, also known as Earth, but we call it Terra here, was here and existed between the 21st century all the way until the 15th millennia. Not much is known about this time, not much needs to be known. Humanity grew up, sought the stars. It's classic. Then came the years between 15,000 and 25,000, the age of technology, or to some, the dark age of technology. This is when humanity reached a new apex of technological understanding. When you think of sci-fi,
if they made AI, I swear to God, we're gonna be in a whole other world of hurt right now.
There's a lot of things you can think of. Star Trek, maybe Star Wars style. You can go cyberpunk dystopian. The age of technology was deep sci-fi, like a scientific prowess that fringed on magic. This is also when the first ever psychers began showing up in humanity. Individuals with the genetic mutation to be able to access the warp, and then because of that, travel through it. Humanity was no longer constricted to their early ways of travel. With warp travel, they could go anywhere in the galaxy.
This is also similar to what Mass Effect was doing, especially in Mass Effect 1. Where they had the relays and humans were like finally able to find all that stuff from like all the alien species from before, and then you can warp travel faster than light through those warp ways. So now humans have their own psychers and are actually able to access power of the warp and then use those same warp ways or even new ones that the Eldar have been using, which I'm sure is going to cause a problem with the Eldar as well.
Equipped ships with gigantic AI machines, with everything you would ever need to know about mankind, and sent them out on colony ships to expand their influence across the galaxy. This was truly the golden age of humanity. And with every golden age, there is a fall. While the new human upstarts of the galaxy were reaching new levels of technology and prowess, the Eldar were engaging in
debauchery.
Debauchery! Debauchery! What happens when a species has everything? You can produce unlimited food out of nothing. Your need for farmers and workers, gone. You have dominated the stars and have created a fast travel system that doesn't rely on the dangers of the warp. You have nothing else to do. You have no struggles, no problems, and feel as if there is nowhere else to go. Well,
you start causing problems when you do that because you're bored. You know what they say, idle hands spend time at the genitals.
You begin to experiment. The Eldar started harmless enough. You know, you take a serious interest in your species' culture, your arts, paintings, poems, plays. These are Eldar, elves, remember? Their emotions are heightened, more powerful than us humans. So your plays get louder. They start to push on the limits of your hearing ability. Your music becomes different, more deranged. It pushes the boundaries of what is art. The visual spectacle of art becomes more bizarre, more delusional, more eccentric. And let's not forget a very important sense. Touch. Pornography is one thing. I'm a virgin. Brothels is another. What if they all mixed? What if your brothels were part of your art and music? And what if those became more deranged? The boundaries of debauchery were not just met, but shattered. Next thing you know, murder is commonplace and often mixed with the art, music, and sex. Pain is a common byproduct of entertainment. Whatever sensation you can have must be increased, must be enhanced, must be taken to the limits.
This is like dopamine massive addiction, basically, because you're so bored. Trying to even get a fix to feel something is like exponentially harder every single time. And so the more you keep doing it, the less of a high you get, and you have to just keep cranking that knob even higher before. This is cool. This is very like Baldur's Gate 3, where just like everything just gets really fucked up in Act 3 at the very end of the game when you find like that secret layer underground. If you haven't done that, please do so. I don't want to spoil it. And it gets really bad in that entire thing.
Eldar Empire slipped into a nightmarish realm of debauchery and excess, with the worst of it taking place in a city in the Webway, a black market for these kinds of heinous acts known as Kamara. Some Eldar saw the writing on the wall, saw what was happening to their species and how far they had slipped. So they boarded continent-sized starships called craft worlds and left their empire, seeking a more enlightened, calmer existence among their peers. Some, those in Kamara, pushed it to even greater heights, relishing the pain and torment they inflicted on those around them. All during this, the warp, the yin to the yang of the world, was fed by these emotions, by the psychic power of the Eldar, by the souls taken in these depraved acts on a galactic scale.
And that honestly makes a lot of sense too, because since the Eldar can access that power, they can clearly go through and use that when they're being incredibly debaucherous, and then just feeding that power into chaos and into the warp itself. Basically just creating a Ouroboros or a snake eating its own tail of just fucking shit up consistently. Boys, I think I'm gonna get into Warhammer. This is great. This is actually great.
And just like that, Eldar ended. Slaanesh, the fourth Chaos God, was birthed into existence and consumed the souls of 90% of the Eldar population. Those that fled were spared the worst of it, and those in the Webway and Kamara were able to stave off the pull of Slaanesh so long as they continued to commit horrid acts of torture and violence. But for the majority of the Eldar, their empire died with Slaanesh's birth. The new fourth Chaos God, she who thirsts, the god.
So that's also very similar to the Zerg in StarCraft 2. And if you haven't played StarCraft, Sarah Kerrigan is like huge for that. She becomes part of the Zerg themselves, being their queen. Very similar to this kind of style of art as well, which is very cool. I mean, hers is more tentacle based but you get the idea. You kind of get where I'm going with this. But this is so incredibly, I wonder how impactful Warhammer has been in just the zeitgeist of basically every single video game and or comic book, depending upon like who's reading what or where they're getting their ideas from, because the lore of this already, you can make the parallels to so many other games, even from Blizzard specifically, or even just major literature in like that we've read all throughout our entire like lives as well. This is honestly cool.
Of unspeakable excess of pleasure, pain, hedonism, and perfection had been born. With the fall of the Eldar Empire came the ruin of humanity. Slaanesh's birth sent storms in the warp across the galaxy, making travel between star systems impossible. Coupled with a huge classic AI rebellion, as a staple in these sci-fi settings, humanity began to suffer the age of strife. Now, planets that relied on intergalactic travel were completely cut off. Long-range messages normally sent through the warp were snuffed out. If you were a planet that was great at mining stuff but couldn't get food, well, You know that movie about the rugby players in the mountains?
No!
Oh, and because of these insane warp storms and fluctuations, psychers began to appear among the human population a bit more often. Now, this initially had them hunted down as witches, because that's pretty common in this setting, but some deemed it right to protect them. Unfortunately for those people, psychers, because they open a gateway to the warp, don't really know how to use their powers well, and they kind of attract demons, who then force their way through the psyker as a conduit of sorts and begin to slaughter the population of your planet.
All right, so so you're born as a psyker, you're mutated basically, you're hunted as a witch, and then if you're protected, when you're trying to use your psychic abilities from the warp, you're physically used as a conduit to be torn open as a gateway for demons to enter the all right. You can never win. You can never win in Warhammer. That's the name of the game, apparently. Holy Christ, that's grotesque.
The Age of Strife was a catastrophic period of time for humanity and set back their progress tenfold over the not 1, not 2, but 5,000 year period. Wow. During this time, the age of humanity that we know began to form. Worlds equipped with large mechs for agriculture began to equip them with weapons to defend from alien and demonic invaders. Over 5,000 years, this became a custom and tradition, dubbing them as night worlds, a feudal society of honor-bound knights in gigantic robots that uphold the chivalric code to defend their worlds and honor. A group of individuals on Mars, after radioactively bombing their planet to become inhospitable to human life, ran their entire—
So is that why Mars is the way it is even now? Because if you look at Mars, even in like real life, there are so many similarities to what Mars was and like how it could have sustained actual life with riverbeds, oceans, mountains, and everything. And people were saying that it's just enough of a distance where you could have inhabited Mars at all as a human species. There was also like this big thing where back in the early 2000s, I think, or like the 90s, where somebody saw like a human face on Mars as well on the surface of it. And I don't even know if that's true anymore though, but I'm not saying Warhammer is real, but I'm saying a lot of points are making a line, if you know what I'm saying.
Lives underground on the few life support systems keeping them alive. Those technicians who could work on the machines and keep them operational were revered, and over 5,000 years went from skilled members of society to full-blown priests. The cult Mechanicus, or tech priests of Mars, formed in the ashes of the Red Planet with a religious fervor and doctrine on the cult of the machine god. And on Earth, or Terra, techno-barbarian tribes waged war across the planet in a Mad Max style of blood and gore, until finally, a mysterious man who lived in the shadows of Terra for millennia finally revealed himself to the populace. His name was the Emperor. He deemed himself the Emperor of mankind. Where did he come from? I don't know. Why is he 10 feet tall and the most powerful psyker of all of mankind? I don't know. Why is he basically immortal? I don't know. Where'd Cotton Eye Joe go? Who knows? But he's here, and he isn't—
So basically Jesus. I mean, if you really want to think about it from that perspective, a 10-foot tall mechanical psyker Jesus. I mean, they put a halo on him for Christ's sake. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not going to lie. That is an incredibly cool outfit. That man is dripped out, if you really want to put it that way.
Happy with all of you ripping up Terra. So he began the Unification Wars, where he and a very early version of the famous Space Marines, the Thunder Warriors, reunited Terra under a single banner.
Cool.
With blood. Then, after taking over Earth, he reunited the Thunder Warriors into the fucking dirt. This is where we get the Imperium of Man, also known as the Imperium. The new faction headed by the Emperor of Mankind, with a treaty signed with the cult Mechanicus on Mars to spread out and reunite humanity after the catastrophic Age of Strife. But first, the Emperor is going to need some smaller versions of himself. 20 of them, 18 of them, I meant, gene-crafted sons of the strongest human to ever live. All of them possess unparalleled strategic power, intelligence, formidable strength and size, a real powerful force to unite humanity and stop the chaos of the current galaxy. Speaking of chaos, you ever seen that image of that guy? It's like throwing the baby like a basketball. It's about what happened. The Chaos Gods intervened and grabbed the 18 Primarch gestation pods and yeeted them across the galaxy at a whim, everywhere they could possibly go. A galactic game of keep away. So the Emperor had to get them back. So begins the Great Crusade. A crusade across the stars to reunite not just humanity, but the Emperor with his fallen sons. The first to be found was Horus, one of the strongest and most noble sons. The Emperor carried with him a legion of newly crafted warriors with genetic material made from their Primarch father. These are the newly made Space Marines.
Okay, so that's where Space Marines come from Horus, basically, if that's what I'm getting right now. And then, so Horus looked like he had a wolf on his back. Is he part of the Space Wolves as well?
The Great Crusade carried with him a legion of newly crafted warriors with genetic material made from their Primarch father. These are the newly made Space Marines. For Horus, his were the Luna Wolves. And as the Emperor continued on his great crusade, he found more and more of his sons, reuniting them with their individual Space Marine legions. Leman Russ, the cunning hunter with the Space Wolves. Rogel Dorm, the Phalanx with the Imperial Fists. Angron, the Barbarian, the very angry with his World Eaters. Fulgrim, the Perfect, with his Emperor's children. And Jagatai Khan, the Swift, the Stoic, and his white scars. Those were just some of the 18, and one by one.
So then, is every faction for the humans in Warhammer basically one of the Emperor's sons? Is that how that works? So I guess there's 18 factions? But Bricky said there was 20, and then they put and told me it was 18. So I'm guessing there's 2 that are missing.
One, his lost Primarch sons were returned to him, and their Space Marine legions returned to them. The Great Crusade saw humanity once again reconquer the stars, returning worlds of humanity back to the Imperium and killing any and all who stood against their noble crusade. But in the years of the 31st millennia, treachery would break this all apart.
Oh no.
Then, we don't know what we did.
Horus, the Emperor's most beloved and favored sons, named War Master for the Crusade, succumbed to the power of chaos and daddy issues. All because of that bastard Erebus. Yo, fuck Erebus. Slowly, Horus would become corrupted, turning the Emperor's sons against him. This begins the most pivotal moment in our story, and the one that has like 50 books written about it, the Horus Heresy. 9 of the 18 Primarchs turned against the Emperor, and the following years were a bloody battle for the throne of Terra. The Emperor originally was working on a special webway project, just like the Eldar, to make faster-than-light travel significantly easier and safer, really improve humanity to allow them to conquer the stars without the risk of the warp. Well, this big red idiot named Magnus kind of blew a hole into that, literally and figuratively. So Big E over there is stuck on a gigantic golden throne, holding back the oncoming rush of demons and powering the Astronomicon, basically a big North Star for people who are sailing in the warp to help them navigate. The Horus Heresy saw many loyalist and traitor legions pitted against each other in a bloody war until it reached Terra itself. Horus, unable to break through the lines and with time running out, made a gambit and opened his ship up to be boarded. The Emperor took this challenge, quickly allowing someone else to take control of the throne as he teleported his way onto Horus's flagship, the Vengeful Spirit.
So now you've got father versus son, one corrupted by chaos, one of pure light, literally going at each other and being like, come at me, bro. Like that, like, oh, that is so cool, bro. This is literally so good, but like, this is such a great gateway into getting into Warhammer, because being like, oh, I want to read the first book. It's almost impossible. But like, there's so much lore and knowledge in this just one simple section that it's wild to see.
Unable to truly kill his most beloved son, changed his mind right quick when Horus strangled the life out of his other son, Sanguinius.
Oh no!
What?
I'm sure you've seen this image at some point.
Yes.
The Emperor then said,
I'm not gonna sugarcoat it,
and proceeded to psychically blast Horus into complete oblivion, killing not only his body, but also his soul. Horribly wounded from this duel, the Emperor is returned to the Golden Throne in order to keep the demons at bay and power the Astronomicon, because without it, humanity would be flying blind. There he sits, slowly dying from his wounds and the strain of powering the Golden Throne. The only thing keeping him alive.
That's where that picture keeps coming from. That makes so much more sense. And it is so insanely based. Holy crap, dude. Just to be like, I have to do this to save all of humanity and give you guys the ability to travel through the warp. And at the same time, I'm so fucked from everything that I'm literally being kept alive by this machine and just melding into it. Wow.
Is feeding upon the souls of 1,000 psychers every single day. This was 10,000 years ago. We are now in the 41st millennium, modern day. Warhammer 40,000.
Yeah. What? Wow.
Yes, yes.
The Emperor remains.
Wait, is all of that happened 40,000 years before we got to where we are? Did he say he had to eat the souls of 1,000 psychers every day?
On the souls of 1,000 psychers flying blind. There he sits, slowly dying from his wounds and the strain of powering the Golden Throne. The only thing keeping him alive is feeding upon the souls of 1,000 psychers every single day. This was 10,000 years ago. We are now in the 41st millennium, modern day. Warhammer 40,000.
So they're just sacrificing 1,000 psychers to the Emperor on a daily basis. And then now they're like, guess what? Now we're here where we're supposed to be. Like, that is the gravity and the size of that kind of storytelling and that kind of grand scale kind of thing really puts into perspective almost how insignificant everything else is in this era of like storytelling in space. Because you've got beings that are literally just controlling entire just echelons of everything, space-time, the actual stars themselves, psychic energies, and now they're like, guess what? Now you're in 40K. That's ridiculous.
The Emperor remains on his throne. The Imperium is a rotting carcass of an empire, a fascist, xenophobic cult that worships the Emperor as a deity despite him never wanting to be seen as a god. Over the span of 1 million worlds, the ecclesiarchy, the church of the Emperor, is spread throughout. Inquisitors with unparalleled power root out any sign of heresy or lack of devotion to their god Emperor. The other half of the traitor legions.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, there's also a bunch of heresy inside of those actual people, because what they're doing is they're just doing it by what they feel is the correct move without even knowing what the Emperor actually wants. Because if he doesn't want to be seen and he doesn't want to be talked to because he's literally holding the entire universe together, they're just going off on their own accord, doing whatever they feel is correct. And then that could lead into massive amounts of chaos. Literally and figuratively.
move about as Chaos Space Marines, raiding and pillaging the Imperium while the Loyalist half does their best to keep the Empire alive. All throughout this, they must endure Orc invasions, Eldar trickery, the reawakening of the Necron race, and the Great Devourer, the newest tyrannid threat from the darkness between galaxies that has arrived to feast on their worlds.
Yeah, which is for Space Marine 2.
The theme of Warhammer 40,000 is regression and intolerance. Every major faction in Warhammer has had an empire that spanned the galaxy only to be crushed back to a hollow shell of what they once were due to their own failings. Culture, the arts, personal freedom, religious tolerance, the simple possibility that alien life might not want to kill us is considered heretical and is often met with a pistol to the head.
So there's no like, hey, there's no good guys here. They all want to fuck with us. So either you kill them first or you're just stuck the way it is. That is such a wild concept. Like anyone who thinks like, oh, they could be good is like, nah, fam. We've seen this happen our entire like millennia already. There's nobody good here, okay? Pull the trigger first, ask questions later, apparently. That's how things want to be going around here.
Time for these things. All there is time for is worship of the God Emperor and a million wars to be fought. To be a human in the 41st millennia is 99% of the time to live a horrible existence. To be one of trillions of other humans across a million worlds throughout the galaxy. A galaxy where AI is outlawed, so humans are repurposed and lobotomized to become slaves. A place where lack of devotion is met with death. And if you even have devotion, there is a good chance the threats to the galaxy, chaos, and aliens will kill you anyway. Warhammer is a world where you revel in being bad. There are protagonists, there are antagonists, but every faction is some shade of evil. Because playing the bad guys is always more fun. And my friend, you have a selection. So pick up that las gun, soldier. You and the other 3 million men and women in this single deployment on this single world in this single battle will now show them the might of the God Emperor. That weapon in your hands has killed 99% of the alien populations in this galaxy. Unfortunately for you, soldier, you're fighting the final 1%. May the Emperor be with us. Glory to the first man to die, for in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna get into Warhammer, boys. This is awesome. This is great. Wow.
Thank you, everyone. I hope I have helped teach you about Warhammer. If you are a brand new person and you want to get a bit more about the world, there are multiple books that do a great job at showing off how the entire universe operates. For the most part, Warhammer is a setting, and often stories are told in that setting with a Warhammer coat of paint. Gaunt's Ghosts is Band of Brothers, but Warhammer. It's honestly one of my #1 recommendations for new people. Assassinorum Kingmaker is an assassin novel involving those night worlds. This is Mission Impossible, but Warhammer. Bloodlines is Blade Runner, but Warhammer. And the list goes on and on. If I had to recommend a brand new novel for a first-time Warhammer enjoyer, these are the 4 I would recommend. Horus Rising, Caiaphas Cain, First and Only Gaunt's Ghost, and Infinite and the Divine. They are all fantastic novels, and they will get you acquainted with the world without needing to know too much. Thank you all so much for watching this video. Get yourself a Gamer Subs flavor. Enjoy the new sweet six pack. And if you're curious and you want, you know, just a little Lord, you can find him in the description as well on my merchandise store, orchid8.com.
Great video,
Thank you for watching, and may the God Emperor be with us.
That was a fantastic video by Bricky. Thank you guys so much for watching. I think I'm definitely going to pick up the Horus Heresy stuff and get into that too. I want to know what you guys have to say about this as well. What other videos should I react to? What other Warhammer stuff should I definitely try out? and we may even be playing a couple of Warhammer games here on the channel as well. If you want to see more reacts, if you want to see more content as well, subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.